So you're thinking about buying new construction? It's like that new car smell. There's nothing better than being the first person to own something. But before you whip out your hard hat and start picking out your dream home, there's a few things you need to know first. I'm Stallone, I'm a Chicagoland realtor, and if you want to know everything about new construction and the Chicagoland area, I think you came to the right place. Every day I get calls, texts, and emails from buyers just like you on these exact same questions. So today we're breaking down the top things you need to know before you ever step in a new construction home and how to avoid the most common mistakes. So number one is earnest money. And it's the biggest shocker to people when they see it. It works a little bit different in new construction. Now on the resale side of things, earnest money is 1 to 2%. Now if it's a $400,000 home, you're talking $4,000 to $8,000. Now new construction is gonna vary. A lot of times you're gonna hear 5%, 6% for FHA, 10% for conventional. You might hear more than that. You might see flat fees where it's $25,000, $50,000, $70,000 plus. Now that scares a lot of people when they hear it. Now think about it, the earnest money is a lot up front, but the earnest money in new construction can also go down towards your closing cost and your down payment. So it's not as scary as it looks, but it's always scary to people when they look at it. Now, don't let that steer you away. A lot of people kind of look at me panicked when they hear that. A lot of builders, they're there to work with you, right? They understand that they're asking for, 25, 50, 70. They're asking for a lot of money. So a lot of them work in a tiered, stepped, partial system. You can call it all types of things. But they'll say, hey, initially we're gonna need 1/3. And then month 1 or month 2, we're gonna need 2/3. And by month 3, we need, all of it, which kind of takes some pressure off you. Some, they want it half and half. But that's a lot better than just like, hey, here's 50 G's, thank you. They're there to work with you. Now, just make sure that you have the money there ready. That way you don't get shocked by that. It is the biggest shocker to people, and every buyer I work with, just like you, they see the number and they're like, oh my God. But to be honest, you're gonna put it up as a down payment or closing cost. You're gonna need it anyway. You're just basically putting it there up front. It's not as scary as it looks. Now, we've been experiencing 7% interest rates for about 2 years now. And big box builders and builders in general, they know this, and they were the fastest to pivot. So they incentivize you by permanently buying the rate down. Sometimes they're gonna offer incentives 5.5%, 6%. I've seen some at like 5.875. Some of them will even do a permanent buy down and closing cost, which make them very competitive against the resale market. Here in the Chicago suburbs, inventory is sometimes less than a month and a half. There's not a lot of homes for sale. And big box builders compete because you can go to a new construction home, get a 5.5% interest rate, your monthly payment's less, and you might get closing costs covered. You're hardly ever gonna get that in a resale market, especially here when it's very hot, you see a lot of multiple offers. So big box builders and builders here know that they can get very competitive with the rate and bring a lot of buyers to them and incentivize them to do that. Let's break down some builder incentives that I see a lot here. A lot of times you're gonna see them buying the rate down permanently. So they're gonna buy it down in a block. They'll buy the rate down to say 5.5% for FHA or VA. Some will buy down to 6%. Some will give you percentage points of the purchase price to choose for closing cost or for your permanent buy down. Some builders, when they're really trying to push houses, they're gonna give you 5.5%, 6% and cover all your closing costs. Imagine the savings. So you're 1.5% from the current rate we're sitting at now, plus they're paying closing costs. How can anybody compete with that? A lot of people flood there because of that. And it helps a lot of buyers just like you be able to afford more home. So the most common builders that do that here are gonna be D.R. Horton, Ryan Homes, and Lennar. D.R. Horton, a lot of times I see them offering a lot. It's always the buy down and some closing costs or all closing costs. That makes them, that's probably why they're the #1 builder in the country. They're one of the most competitive when it comes down to offering incentives. Ryan Homes, a lot of times I see 3%. So on a $400,000, you get $12,000 to put towards a permanent buy down, closing cost. Remember, all this changes from month to month, but currently it's kind of what I'm seeing. And we're kind of in the summer market. Now imagine that on a $400,000 home. You can save between $270 and $400 a month. That's almost like a Civic car payment. If you could still buy a Civic with that car payment, might be close. And like I said, covering closing costs. So imagine closing costs are say $8,000 to $9,000. You're not having to come out $9,000 and you're saving $200 or $400 a month. That's a pretty good incentive, wouldn't you say? Now keep in mind, all these incentives, you always have to use the builder's lender. Nobody's gonna give you incentives to use somebody else. So a lot of these rates, it'll always say subject to using builder's lender. Keep that in mind. Now, number 3, is what do you really want? And is this the right builder for you? Do you want a home you can just move into? Do you want a home you can pick out options? Or do you want the home where you pick out everything? So we're gonna break down 3 tiers of builders typically you see here. One I call a spec builder, one I would call an option builder, and the other one I call a semi-custom builder. And each one's right for different people. Now, the most common spec builders I see here are gonna be D.R. Horton and Lennar. So they already have the options picked out, the colors picked out, they know which homes go on which lots. The advantage to that for you is they're like, hey, I don't really want to pick out any options, or I want the house with the white cabinets. Well, they're like, hey, these are the homes that are there, they're available. But they're built faster. So if you're like, hey, I have 3 months, most likely these are the builders gonna have homes, foundations are ready to go, they're framing, they've already picked it out, they got their permits done. These are the homes you're typically gonna be able to move into faster because they're already building based on what the specs call for. And a lot of people like that, right? They don't have to think. They're like, okay, this one's got stone and white, brick, doesn't matter, this one's blue. The options are already picked for you. You don't have to think. You just kind of have to pick which house model you like and move into it. Super easy. Now, the options builder, you're gonna be looking at Ryan Homes and MI Homes. Now, Ryan Homes don't spec build. So you're not gonna get a home that they've already completed and you get to walk into. There's models so you can get an idea of the homes, but they don't start building until you sign the contract. So you pick which model you like out, and if you're like, hey, I like this model with 3 or 4 bedrooms, and then I like these options. They typically have a 3-tiered system, like your entry, mid, and your high. And they let you mix and match. Now they actually let you pick the options from the exterior. So if you like white siding or blue or green or gray, or if you want half siding, 2 different colors, they give you a lot of those options. Now, keep in mind, you can have the same color home typically next to you or across from you. They don't want to be 15 gray houses because you all picked gray. So you are limited on that. So that means you just kind of pick a different lot. Here, typically in Ryan Homes, you're gonna pick the lot and the home. And then you get the exterior, interior options. There's some good options there, right? MI Homes is kind of the same way. They're gonna let you pick a few different options. Do you want a fireplace? Do you want a sunroom? Do you want the master luxury suite? Do you want different types of layouts? They're gonna give you options as well. So if you're like, hey, I really would like to pick a few options, those are the builders you're really gonna go for. Now, as for interiors, you're gonna get a few options. You get some color cabinet options. You get to know if you wanna put some can lights in certain spots. There's a few things you can do. Some they don't let you do anything. Here, like if you want 4 can lights, you want a recessed box or reinforced box, you can do that. If you just want 1 reinforced in the master bedroom, you can do that. So the cool thing about a lot of these option builders is you can pick and choose a few things, right? It allows you to control the price point. So if you're like, hey, I want to move up into 15,000 and upgrade, you can, or hey, just don't have the price point for that, you don't have to, which is great, as opposed to somebody picking all your options and the price is the price, right? So a little bit different, but good options. Now, semi-custom, there's gonna be 2 we're talking about here. Pulte, huge builder. One of the cool things about Pulte is whether you wanna pick out can lights, counters, kitchen, you wanna change toilet fixtures, the options are endless here. Walking into a model, you're gonna see it's decked out, right? So they got the sunroom, 42-inch cabinets, granite counters, 50-some can lights, everything. Remember, these are all options. And you're gonna tailor this whole home to yourself, whole home to yourself. So if you want to do, say, 20 can lights, you can pick the can lights out. If you want granite specific, they have different stages of granite, like 1 through 4, I believe. If you want 30-inch, 36, 42-inch cabinets, everything is a la carte. So if you're like, hey, I just want a simple home, you can create a simple home. If you're like, hey, I want this super extravagant 70 can light house, 42-inch cabinets, crown lighting, all the fun stuff, you have the option. Now, that's the cool thing about semi-custom is that you can tailor it to kind of whatever your life's like. Just remember, all that comes at a cost. So every upgrade is gonna cost you a few dollars. So before you walk into this builder, set your max budget and then go from there. One of my favorites is Riley Homes. There are about 40 homes left, probably less by the time you see the video actually though. They're selling like hotcakes. And the reason is that it's basically full custom. So if you wanna move a wall, you wanna put a slider in, if you wanna finish the basement, you want a 3 seasons room, 4 seasons room, you want a huge patio, they let you do all types of fun stuff. It's a great thing. The problem is, if you don't keep attention to your own budget, you can do stuff that gets expensive. So if you want to put a 4 seasons room out there and then you want to like put a deep or basement, a 3-car garage, a 4-car garage, it can be a bit much. So before you go here, just make sure you set your maximum budget, because if not, they're gonna let you do anything you feel like, it seems like, and your budget's gonna go whoop. So keep a budget in mind here. I think the standard build they offer is phenomenal, but all the options just make it kind of my favorite place. And one day I'm maybe gonna build there. We'll see. Number 4, what is the tax rate? Taxes in Illinois go hand in hand. There's no way around it. Now in a resale home, everybody looks at the MLS and they go, okay, taxes are $7,000 or $15,000. You can see the taxes. A lot of people go here and they go, oh, what are the taxes? Like $4. Yeah, it's taxed on land to start. So I always ask every builder, what is your current tax rate? And in Yorkville, it's about 3%. So think of 3% of home value. That's gonna give you estimated what your tax rate is minus the exemptions. So in Keller County, the average tax rate is 2.87. In DuPage County, the average tax rate is 2.2. So tax rate's a little bit higher here, but you gotta remember on new construction, that first year you're taxed on land. So it's like 50 bucks or something, I don't know, a pack of gum. It's almost nothing. And then when you get into about 18 to 24 months, you're gonna have half taxes and full taxes. So when you go to these homes and they're like, oh, your mortgage is 2,200 bucks, and you're like, oh, just realize that's typically with land tax, not full assessed tax. So when you're going in there, make sure that you know what the mortgage is gonna be when it's fully assessed. You'll thank me later, trust me. Or you'll sell it because you're like, I couldn't afford that. So tax rate, 100%, number one question, number 2 or 3. It's one of the top questions you're gonna ask, right? Probably behind price, but you wanna know what the taxes are. Everybody wants to know what the taxes are everywhere they go. Now, number 5, my most hated thing, make sure you're checking before you step inside, is MLS, or if you're on Redfin or Realtor or Zillow, new construction pricing. It is never accurate. And I mean ever accurate. So people like you will call me and go, hey, I saw this home, it's 400 grand. I'm like, okay, let me just confirm, let me see what's available. I'll call and they're like, yeah, we're 475 right now. So don't trust what you read online, because a lot of these websites, they're outdated, right? They're not updated every day or daily. It's not like a resale home where it's a seller, this is a builder. So the MLS just kind of feeds what potential homes they have there, what their pricing was at some point, but I've never seen them be dead on accurate, ever. And I don't know about you, but a $50,000 swing, kind of a problem for me. I have, my budget's $350, and I say, oh, that's $350. And now it starts at $410. Well, I guess I can't go to that builder now, can I? So make sure you're always doing your due diligence before you step inside, because a lot of times you're like, oh, 400, and you step inside, it's 515. Not gonna work for you, is it? Now, before you visit any builder, call me, text me, email. I'll get you the most accurate pricing to help you out. And I can even tell you what the current incentives are on specific homes or homes in general. I might even be able to get you access to homes that are coming back to the market that a buyer wasn't able to buy. You're not typically gonna be able to do that because you'd have to get to the salesperson directly. A lot of the salespeople have become friends of mine, so I'm able to text them directly and say, hey, do you have any homes coming back on the market, or what are your current homes? Because I have a really good relationship with these builders now, because I see them all the time. A lot of them are friends of mine. I can get you the best pricing, the most accurate pricing, and tell you the best deals that are going on, not the ones that you see on Zillow where it seems a little bit off. I'll make sure you get taken care of. So let me know which one of these is your favorite tip that you're gonna be using next time you go to a new construction builder, and I'll see you in the next one.